So next, you're going to develop continuity strategies. These are ways to maintain your critical operations, minimize the downtime, and mitigate the impacts of the disruption on your essential business functions. So all of the context that you just developed around each of your essential business functions that you identified as critical, that you need to get back online quickly after a disruption. Now think about what the impact to that essential function would be on the disruptions that we outlined earlier in our videos. So a denial of access to your facility, denial of service due to a reduced workforce, or a denial of service due to an equipment or systems failure. So we'll give you an example. We'll go back to the bakery. Let's say my essential business function that I'm working on is payroll. If I couldn't access my facility, let's say it was flooded, I can't get into the building for several days, but I need to conduct payroll. A continuity strategy might be to conduct payroll at an alternate location. Some planning considerations would be ensuring that the alternate location has the necessary equipment, software, supplies, space, utilities that are needed to perform the function. We also want to ensure that the primary and alternate payroll employee can access this alternate location in order to perform the payroll. So if the disruption was a denial of service due to a reduced workforce, my continuity strategy might be having an alternate or backup person conduct payroll. And some planning considerations here might be identifying who that individual is, who's going to perform payroll, who doesn't normally perform payroll. I want to make sure that we've developed payroll instructions so that person can reference that. And we also want to obtain payroll system credentials for that alternate person so that they can get in and conduct payroll. So if my disruption was a denial of service due to an equipment or systems failure, let's say I'm unable to access the online payroll system, my continuity strategy might be doing a manual process for payroll and calling up the payroll company to walk them through my payroll for the week. So planning considerations here might be having a spreadsheet with employee payroll information, payroll company contact information, and then a method of securing sensitive information so that there's storage of physical documents or that the transfer of information, if it's going online, is secure. So those are some examples of continuity strategies for an essential business function. Now we'll pause and do an activity where you take one of your essential business functions and think about each of the types of disruptions and what your continuity strategies would be. So now that you've developed your continuity strategies, we'll think about how to restore back to normal operations. So an example of a continuity strategy is relocating to an alternate site. Your restoration strategy might be documenting how you'll move back to and strengthen the resiliency of your primary location so that for future disruptions, you may not have to go to an alternate location. Another example of a continuity strategy is using an alternate supplier or vendor. So your restoration strategy might be identifying more reliable or a diverse set of suppliers or vendors so that you don't have to look around for vendors following a disruption to your current supplier. Another example, if your continuity strategy was using an alternate staff member to perform a function, your restoration strategy might be returning that function to the primary staff person and then training additional staff to build depth in that particular area. So going back to the bakery, and thinking about our essential function of conducting payroll, if our disruption was a denial of access to the facility because of flooding, and our continuity strategy was to conduct payroll at an alternate location, some restoration strategies might be monitoring emergency alerts or City of Boston social media for updates on when you can gain access back into your building, documenting your property damage, filing an insurance claim, pumping water out of the building, clearing debris, and cleaning and disinfecting the building so that you can get back to doing your essential functions in your primary location. So if the disruption was a denial of service due to a reduced workforce, and your continuity strategy was having an alternate or backup person conducting payroll, your restoration strategy might be documenting the payroll activities and scheduling the meeting with the primary payroll employee to brief them on what happened in their absence. If the disruption was a denial of service due to equipment or systems failure, and your continuity strategy was manual process of payroll, calling up the payroll company and giving them the information for payroll that week, your restoration strategy might be collaborating with the payroll company to ensure all the content is correct and that your manual documents are secure and that they're entered in to the payroll system. So we'll pause here and do an activity where you take your essential function that you developed continuity strategies for and now develop restoration strategies for each of the 3 disruptions. So once you've completed developing your restoration strategies, you can go back and take a look at all of the essential functions that you identified as critical to your business and that need to get back online quickly. And you can create all the contextual details around each of those critical functions and develop continuity and restoration strategies for those essential functions. Once you've worked through those in worksheets, you can then transition those into your plan on pages 8 and 9. There's a template there, a table that you can duplicate for each of your critical essential functions, and those will make up the bulk of your business continuity plan.